Look, GIS is doing something to this language. It's expanding the language enormously. It's making maps of everything we know, available to everyone. That's sort of your work. It's integrating geographic knowledge into everything that people do. I mean, another word for geography is everything. I was taking a break from one of my meetings the other day, and I met a young man who just started working for us, and I said, well, what are you working on? He said, everything. I thought, this is really charming in a way, and it just caused me to think about it. And again, I want to emphasize that you are abstracting, creating maps and with this language and sharing it with everyone. Creating a kind of revolution, I would assert, in understanding. And this GIS is worth looking at like this. Many of you are familiar with this diagram. GIS and the geographic approach is providing a framework and a process for collecting all that we measure and visualizing it and supporting decision-making and action. And at the same time, it's improving how we collaborate. This big challenge that we're facing today, the lack of understanding and our inability to collaborate. Now, it's advancing, and I suspect that many of you are here this week to find out how and set a new context. This is a portfolio of work underway, and whether it's AI or imagery or content or whatever, these are all exciting, moving innovations that are occurring. But I want to take a moment and talk particularly about architecture, and more specifically about distributed architecture, because this distributed GIS architecture is creating infrastructure, geospatial infrastructure for the planet. And that in turn is transforming how we work together, sharing resources, content, maps, models, workflows. And that's being embraced by thousands of organizations. You are doing it, actually. I don't have to go on about it anymore. It's enabling individuals and organizations and enterprises, and actually it's kind of the central point of this geospatial community. Well, the evidence of it is this room. You are increasingly a geospatial world community. And more evidence is all these thousands and thousands of portals of open data, sharing, collaboration, agency to agency. It just goes on and on. It's sharing resources about everything. I'd now like to move on to the GIS and your work, or the theme of this conference, or I think, in my view, uniting our already world. Contributing. And I suppose some of you, when you've looked at this theme, have contemplated the future. Well, you've made up worth stopping and thinking about that. Or if you haven't, I'd like you to do so now. Particularly, I think, we need to think about uniting our world. It's not actually enough. And addressing these big challenges, it's going to require you come from so many different backgrounds. It'll take everyone everyone understanding what's going on, and methodology. You're all building your work on a common science. GIS professionals have an enormous role when we came up with this role to play in that. The notion was, I mean, you do your how can we address some of these great challenges as part of something much larger, using its influencing as a kind of creating platform, the future of our planet, the science of our world. And you and the work that you do at the beginning of this conference for a moment, and my personal view, well, first is, don't you just love creating globe? Well, isn't that amazing? Or the power of human ingenuity to create a sustainable future. I remember where I was when I first saw that picture. Some of you building the necessary systems. Others might have seen it in those maps that tell the moon. I'd now like to move on to the vision, the latest tech, thinking about the theme of this conference, curiosity, the planet. I know many of you our world in this curiosity. I suppose some of you, when you looked at this theme, explore, have contemplated holistic solutions made up. This is such an interesting thing. It's beautiful. Or if you haven't, I'd notice every day. So now. In preparing for this, I suspect you do as well. GIS, this poem by
uniting
our
Ralph
world, Waldo Emerson.
is not just
And
beautiful.
Look around
This
in this room.
it's also living.
Well, you come from
It's
the
so
kind
many
of
different
interconnected,
backgrounds.
what was it, 2 centuries ago?
Ecosystem.
So
All
a century and a half,
similar
a long time ago.
technology.
And it's useful again.
And
he said, at the beginning of the conference, you're all building your work on realize are the risk takers.
When we
Came
came
up
up with
this
this
opportunities
theme
complex.
and
The
seized
notion
moment
was, how can
it's
we
living.
address some of these great
it's
challenges
fragile
of sustainability?
people.
And in our
Using
world, geography,
the
with the exception of
That's
the
even
planet
amazing
by the moon,
how he came
the
up
science
with
of
it.
our
It
world.
holds basically
Extraordinary.
all of
If we pause
humanity's
at the
history,
at
all
the
of our
beginning of this
experiences.
conference for a moment, and my close
Through
in
a
this
first
vision
don't you
part of
just
the
love
talk is
this
basically
extraordinary thing?
my sense is
Isn't
that
that
we,
amazing?
as a group, can
And
leverage the
today,
power of geography
we're
and
facing-
GIS to do
I remember
exactly
where I
what
was
when I
Emerson
first
said,
saw that
our world is
picture
evolving
our world,
rapidly,
might
and it's
remember
increasingly
others might have seen it
influenced
in the future
magazine
by
from the moon
what we do, looking
as
at our little
humans.
planet and thinking about
Our world is
setting
evolving
the
rapidly.
planet into context. A phrase that
in
we
this
hear now
massive
frequently.
universe.
This
And
and particularly you, as GIS professionals, are perhaps
ball
more
flying
conscious of
around.
than anyone.